So you are afraid of something else. We all go a little mad sometimes. You don't know what death is.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Welcome to the madness. We are the Mouths of Madness, your new favorite podcast for horror movie reviews. We're coming to you live tonight from the Secret Madness office party here at the Dungeon of Doom. This is our episode 4 and our first annual Secret Madness on the movie Better Watch Out. My name is Kevin. Let me go around the party here and introduce you to the other members of Madness. First, we have Dan. Dan, Feliz Navidad. How are you liking the party so far?
Magnifico! Dude, what are you putting in this eggnog, bro?
I know, it hits. Hey, be careful of Linda from our demonology department. She's been following you around all night with the mistletoe, so just a heads up. Stay clear.
Can't make any promises. That Linda. Man, oh man.
Whew. Next, we have the mayor of Christmas Town, Bearclaw. Bearclaw. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, and I'm just going to be waiting till about when this party really heats up, and then it's going to be time for the twist. I'm real excited, and I'm kind of waiting in the wings.
Dude, what's with the paint bucket ambiance?
Oh, that's special for tonight. Hey, Bearclaw, I would look out for Larry. Have you seen him? He's from our paranormal department.
Yeah, he's been following me around, and it's frankly been creeping me out a little bit. But don't worry. Like I said, I think there's a twist, and I think he's going to play an interesting part in it.
Ooh, I like it. Last, we have the youngest member of Madness, Logan. Logan, happy holidays. How are you liking the party?
Oh, I'm having a fun time here.
Yeah, nice. Well, listen, be careful of the punch because I saw Billy, from accounting. He was adding a little bit of the fun to it, if you know what I mean.
Jerry?
Well, let's hope I don't have any of that. And let's hope you're not speaking of the Billy that I think we all know very well.
Your favorite Billy?
Which one?
Have you guys seen the office cat, Claude?
You know what? He was around here somewhere earlier. I don't know.
Claude?
Let's not look for him, shall we?
God damn it, Claude, I'm gonna have you fixed.
Might go wrong.
Well, I know that there are a lot of other great horror movie podcasts out there, but what separates us from the other ones is we're going to give you the older versus younger perspective on these great movies. Myself, Dan, and Bearclaw, we were born in the 80s, while my son Logan was born in the early 2000s. So this is the clash of the generations. Now, before we get into the episode, I want to plug some of our stuff and where to find us. We have a great Instagram page at mouths.of.madness. Also, we have a new YouTube channel. Check some of our video content out. It's at Mouths of Madness. And finally, we have an email. We want to hear from you at thepaddedroom@outlook.com. Bearclaw is looking for your emails every day.
I mean, I know what's written on my wall, but I want to hear about what's written on your wall. That's thepaddedroom@outlook.com.
Make it weird.
Let's get weird, guys. Let's get weird. Well, without any further ado, grab a beer, pull up a chair, hold on to your straitjacket tight, and let's dive into the madness.
All right.
Woo! This is our first annual Secret Madness episode. At the end of our last episode, we each picked 3 horror movies. We didn't share them with each other. We wrote them down. We put them into a hat. And if you look at our Instagram page or our YouTube page, you can actually see the video short up there where we showed Logan pulling out the name of the movie we're going to do for this episode. And that was Better Watch Out. And that is our gift to each other for this Secret Madness and our gift to all of you.
I don't know if it's a
gift.
gift.
I don't know. This gift might get returned.
Hey, listen, you get what you get and you don't get upset, right?
Dang. Can I trade this with somebody?
This isn't, what's the name?
White
of the-
Elephant.
White Elephant. Is that it? I don't know.
I think so.
Like the T-shirt from Grandma, I believe this one is a little bit too big for me, Kevin. So I think this
Or
is going to
too
have to be a
small.
return.
Well, you can't go around the party and find somebody to trade it with. We're just going with it.
Oh, Larry's here.
I can't see him right now. Get it? Because he's from the paranormal department. Where's the drum
Okay,
roll?
let's get to
it. All right, we watched Better Watch Out from 2016. It was directed by Chris Peckover, and it was written by Zach Kahn, I believe is how you pronounced it. And along with Chris Peckover. What I saw on my research of this is this movie was originally titled Safe Neighborhood. It was a movie that was kind of, I guess what ended up happening is the writer had, along with the producer, came to the director, Chris Peckover, with this story. And the director liked the story, but he thought it was a little too down the realm of torture porn.
Yeah, it sounds like, Chris kind of came into this project and said, we need to tone it down a little bit. And after having seen this movie, the fact that this is the toned down version really makes me wonder what the original version was.
Well, before we get into the nitty gritty of the movie, this movie had a budget of $3 million US. Do you guys know what it grossed?
Oof. I don't know. It wasn't released in too many theaters in the U.S. It went to a lot of horror festivals I saw, but I'm going to say $3 million?
Yeah, I mean, Bearclaw brings up a good point. This was an Australian movie.
It's Australian. It's got to be like 150. Those Australian people don't know how to make.
Oh.
Okay, I see how it is. Prison rules. Anything bloody goes.
All right to us at the padded room at outlook.com.
We're going to make every single
our
one.
Australian
the places
fans.
Logan can travel is quickly diminishing.
Every single episode, we're gonna get more and more of our national fans pissed off, and I'm okay with that.
All right, so Logan, you said it was 150 million?
No, 150k.
Okay, all right. Dan?
It is around that.
Yeah, you guys are very
Price
close.
is writing me?
Yeah.
Well, I already looked it up like in advance before this.
Well, then.
I kind of knew as
Dan
well.
had a little heads up.
Let's find out.
It was 188,000 worldwide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yours was ambitious.
Won a lot of prizes though. It won I was going through it won a lot of different film festival prizes, but I was surprised to hear that it never really hit the big screen. But then I saw the movie, and then it kind of became clear to me why it didn't. So.
Well, this is kind of surprising because on Rotten Tomatoes right now, it has an 88% positive critic score and a 64% positive audience score. So this is a certified fresh movie on Rotten Tomatoes.
Those critics drinking. They got some of Miss McHenry's
Sherry?
Yeah, like what are they on?
Good stuff, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, listen, before we get into our discussion here, I do want to do a spoiler alert for all you audience members out there. Usually we don't really do these because we kind of assume that you're already seen the movie or you're kind of listening to our commentary on the actual movie. But with this one, there is a big twist that happens. So we don't want to give anything away for people who haven't seen this. So please, if you haven't seen this, go watch this movie and then come right back to the party because we got a couple of drinks for you and we're going to get into the discussion question. All right.
We'll keep them cold.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to start this out. This movie was starting out one way of the intruder, the babysitter's protecting the kid from an intruder. Or intruders, I guess.
Yeah.
And then they're possibly in the house, right? It's going down that path. You almost have that classic final girl of what's her name that Jamie Lee Curtis plays?
Laurie Strode.
Yes.
Yep. You got a lot of final girl energy. You've got you've got a lot of predictable kind of stuff going on. It's kind of by the numbers for the first little bit there, but and then as you said, it takes a pretty hard twist. And I'll be honest, I watched this through. I didn't see the twist coming. I was kind of excited to see. I had heard the words "evil Home Alone" used in reference to this movie. So I kind of thought, to be honest with you, Kev, going into this, I kind of thought like the babysitter and the kid were going to like team up, and like there was going to be somebody who was going to come into the house, but then like they were going to like create all these traps, and it was going to kind of be like maybe a little bit more aggressive Home Alone, which probably would have been a little bit of a better idea than them going the direction they did. But yeah, then there was that huge twist.
Yeah, so yeah, like Bearclaw set up, all of a sudden, bam!
Yeah.
It hits you. It turns out that the intruder or intruders were set up by the kid who was being babysit, Luke, and his friend Garrett, in an attempt to win over the babysitter, Ashley, to have her fall in love with him, I guess, because he can protect her from some intrusion that really isn't real, I guess.
It's all about the implication, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this brings me to my discussion question, because this then all of a sudden goes down the dark path of Luke, the kid, becoming this kind of...
It's just a psychopath.
Yeah, psychopath, correct.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
Now, my question for all of you is, are you a fan of the twist to start? Would you have preferred the movie kind of just went straight down the intrusion angle where the babysitter was protecting the kid from, the unknown? Or did you actually like the twist? What do you guys think?
So I'll start off with this one. I thought the twist was interesting. I didn't see it coming. I will give them that. They had me fully invested. At the time when the twist happened, I still suspected the father because he was saying a lot of creepy stuff early on, like, oh, I didn't give you permission to go.
Deandra says it's your movie.
Yeah, in a couple of days to Pittsburgh.
Did I give you permission?
Ashley, the babysitter. So I kind of thought it was the father. And even, there was this film in the first half hour is full of, I think they call it like Chekhov's gun, where it's like a bunch of things that are going to be used in the future of the movie, the pencil, and how that is used, the distinct ski mask is, it's kind of riddled with these things that are probably going to be come into play later in the movie.
The Home Alone reference right at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
The paint bucket. And the Mythbusters.
Yeah, I mean, and all of that, like right at the get-go. And then this twist happens. You realize that Luke is really the problem here, and that he's got his psychopath's agenda. I mean, honestly, this goes back to a lot of my feelings on Rob Zombie movies, and the twist in itself is kind of interesting, but it's kind of what happens after the twist that I feel defines the movie more, because the twist was good, but then everything that happens after the twist, it feels very like, almost like if you're looking at, they have that concept, the uncanny valley, right? With like robots, where like it looks just close enough to reality, but just far enough away where it's not very, like it's uncomfortable to look at. And that's kind of how I feel the movie went after the twist. It's one of those things that I don't feel like it's unrealistic. As a matter of fact, I think it would have served the movie much better to have it be unrealistic or kind of slapstick or adding some kind of comedic aspects to it. But instead, the kid just goes full psychopath and like creepy, weird, pathetic psychopath, which you could argue is all serial killers, really. But it's like a realistic serial killer, and to me that didn't serve the movie well. It made it terrifying, but it didn't make it fun.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought at first when the twist happened, I was not a fan of the twist. Like, it seemed like just a way for him to tie up the girl he wants and like start raping her, and it kind of was heading directly down that path, and with the truth or dare stuff. I mean, it was like, it was one of those where you kind of wanted to turn away at points, and you're like, what is going to happen here?
I mean, to be fair, though, because I was like kind of thinking when I watched it by myself, I'm like, it's different for what it was, because I was like, okay, so we have a standard girl saves boy, or like even like a female protagonist of sorts. But then it started to twist on itself where they were kind of misogynistic in a way, like the little kids, because they're young and they don't really know what, like, how to really woo a girl, also a girl that is kind of their age. They kind of went a little bit too much because I think they were kind of, the internet can do things to people. And I think this is one of the cases where the kids obviously were out of their element. They didn't know what they were doing. Luke definitely knew what he was doing, but Garrett, obviously being the friend, was kind of just going along with it because he didn't know what he was doing.
That's a really good point, because I think the movie tries to play that game with us as the viewer too, where they try to establish this as two younger boys that are kind of not knowing what they're doing or what the end game is.
Well, they're very naive and they're very innocent, and I love the twist, like just the quick reaction, like going from these sweet innocent kids, naive, like reading like pickup artist stuff on the internet, thinking like they're gonna be able to make it with their babysitter. Like, how many young kids like kind of have those, like young boys have those like wild crush fantasies on girls that are a little bit older than them? Like every guy kind of, I think, has those. And then it's just, she checks him after finding out that the whole thing's a ruse. You could literally see him start to unravel as she dresses him down.
Right.
And then like he slaps her and goes down, like shocked the shit out of me. Like after that, I was on the edge of my seat, kind of like wondering, like, all right, what's gonna happen next? Where are they going? Like, I love the fact that this movie started out like, all right, we're gonna take you down the same usual path, and then we're gonna, you know what? Fuck that.
Right.
We're gonna explore this little path over here that doesn't really go. Nobody very ventures often. I don't know.
It's a new thing.
Yeah, it's something I'd never seen before, and so I get really excited when somebody does something that no one's done before. It's creative or innovative. I thought it was innovative in itself.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I at first was not a fan of it, but as it progressed, the story progressed, right? And we're introduced to the boyfriend, Ricky, I believe his name was, and he comes and he's tied up along with Ashley. And all of a sudden we're getting into, there's still the tease of like the torture porn stuff, but then we move into like another, like there's a lot of these snap moments where, like you said, like, oh shit, like she got slapped, and all of a sudden like Luke's turn. Well, the first big slap moment besides her getting slapped is the paint can moment.
Yeah.
And then you realize like, oh shit, like this is serious now, where it kind of felt like something gone awry before, like, okay, they wanted to tie her up. They wanted to do things to her. Like, it's kind of a game, even though obviously it's serious.
It's a game to them.
Yeah. But then when
it kind of starts to not become a game.
Yeah, right. It unravels and like you realize, it's not a game. Like,
and Garrett is kind of supposed to be the somebody that kind of brings in the heaviness of the situation, because Luke can't really grasp how heavy things have gotten, because Luke is always in the mindset of, oh well, I'm just going to get out of this. Oh, I'm just, Luke doesn't feel any sense of accountability. He's got that, psychopathic mindset where you can deal with like just pure logic and reason. Because I mean, this is kind of a monster that has been created, but Luke was also a monster from, the get-go of this whole thing.
Now he's turning us into monsters.
He can't understand people on an emotional level, which goes to show you about how, Ashley, him trying to court Ashley through these, feeble attempts is what he's read. It's the information that he's soaked in. In my mind, Luke is a character that has a lot of knowledge, but doesn't necessarily have any wisdom or experience. And, he's only a 12-year-old boy in this movie. But I will say this, after the twist where you find out that it was him and his friend Garrett that had put this thing on, and this was before the hit, I almost could have mapped out most of the rest of the movie.
Really?
Because, you know,
Yeah.
I really do think it's one of those things. It follows almost the Scream, because Scream was another movie that I thought would be very parallel to this, where it's like it's somebody inside the group that is corrupted. And I guess the rest of the movie was me hoping that this doesn't go as far as I thought it would go.
Yeah.
So that was more the terror after he had turned, because once he had turned, it was like, okay, this kid's just gonna go complete nut job. And you could see that very early on. And, you know, there was his friend Garrett, who at first was kind of part of the program, but now was like, dude, you know, now we've got a girl tied up in a chair. Like, he, you know, you see his hesitance start to build as time goes on. But I like the twist was good. And to be honest, I thought there was going to be something involving the dad. The dad was a big MacGuffin for me. I thought the dad was coming back in. I thought the dad was the guy with the shotgun going room to room, and when it wasn't him, and then it turned out to be Luke, and I feel like from there on out, I was like, okay, this is just going to get really, really hard to watch really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I was talking to Dan earlier, and we were kind of talking about how maybe the dad was banging Ashley, the babysitter.
Yeah.
Like there was some weird
You get
vibes
some
there.
really strange vibes in the beginning between the two of them.
Yeah, but that was complete throwaway MacGuffin, especially like the part where he goes, did I give you permission to move, or something like that? The father goes to Ashley, and there's like this weird, awkward moment. And it's like, yeah, okay. And, you know, I was hoping that the dad was going to have something to do with it. But
I think it makes
doesn't.
sense, though, because, like, I think what I got from that was kind of like, I kind of got a reference there. I think they used a little bit in Thanksgiving, the movie we saw, where, well, I don't want to get a spoiler review for that one as well, but like in the movie, the killer had like a weird thing with this guy's wife. And like you could tell in the beginning, I think we all kind of overlooked that. In
That's
this
a good
one, I think
callback,
I think they kind of looked past that, and they were kind of just like, it's like a babysitter, you know, like it's obviously the dad has taste in weird ornaments and might have a taste in babysitters, but whatever it is, you know, obviously like he's kind of just there to be the dad and kind of just walk out and kind of just go, okay, well, that's settled.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there were moments that were, you know, kind of trying to play with the audience a little bit here, like that, you know, with the banter. You know, there are other moments like later on that do the same thing. You know, it almost felt like they were trying to make the audience a part of the game in a way too. And like you said earlier, Garrett, he believes this is a game in a way, you know, and Luke, this is not a game, you know, there's the difference there, which is kind of cool to see it play out, you know, and they talk about the gerbil, you know, and how Luke killed his gerbil. And
Did you ever tell Garrett that you killed his hamster?
What? The answer is no next turn.
you know, they let that play out and simmer in Garrett's head. And you can see he's almost kind of thinking back like, like, yeah, like, I don't know about Luke. You know,
Well, he
there's
was
uncertain-
hopped up on Oxy. He gave him way too much Oxy. He was like, I should have given him a smaller dose. Like when they tie her up for the first time and she's kind of waking up, they're kind of just playing around the house like it's a game. Like it's very odd. It's off-putting a little bit because they're kind of like, they're not understanding what they just did. And I think even Luke, they're at the moments where he's kind of just like doing this. It's kind of like he's having fun with killing people.
Shit, what do we do now? It's exciting. No.
And he's kind of just doing this to like, I think he's got an attention thing where like he doesn't get enough attention. And I think like that kind of goes into it where like he's kind of just like doing this for attention for her. And he thinks he's like the white knight in shining armor for her when he's trying to save her.
See, I think after their plan goes awry, I think that's when it snaps into his head, like, I'm going down this other path. Like, I don't think after that, I don't think he's concerned about winning her over anymore or anything like that.
It's about not getting in trouble. It's about not having to deal with the consequences of his actions.
Yeah.
Once that bottle full of the only Rufinol that he had was destroyed, in his mind, the cast was set. You know, she wasn't going to make it out, and he was going to, you know, make it look like the, you know, murder suicide that he tried to stage.
Right.
I think that was good though, because it was kind of logical where it was like he was kind of trying to play like kind of this game as well as like also trying to like make Garrett keep on doing it because he wanted Garrett to like see it. He wanted to like to prove his theories, and because he was like looking up stuff like the Home Alone thing with the paint can. Like he was kind of like telling Gary, he's laughing. He's like, I told you it would work. I told you. Like
You said that the paint can would knock him back, like in the movie. Okay, look, I take it back.
kind of like telling Garrett during this.
You think
time.
he cared about Garrett?
No, but like again, the attention. He wanted the attention. I think he's just looking for that. Where like he saw Ashley, and I think Ashley kind of looked at him like a little brother. And obviously, little kids can take that into a different account. But I think because of that, obviously the parents are going out like every night or whatever. But like I think the parents kind of just left him alone, so the kid kind of just goes into this internet search, and he's like, oh yeah, the girls like this kind of thing.
Yeah, he just strikes me as a character who just he takes everything at face value. He's read a lot of that edgelord kind of stuff, and you know he's Luke has taken that all in. He's kind of internalized it. He sees things because he doesn't have any kind of emotional maturity. You know, I mean, you see that in the character. And he's kind of pathetic, which is kind of brilliant how they played him, where he's not just this strong, cold psychopath. He is actually like a little kid.
So to your point, Bearclaw, like I think that was done really well in this movie.
Yeah.
Because, you know, what ends up happening is Luke does come off as a non-threat. Right.
Yeah.
You know, and even like his voice changes. He has like the squeaky voice tone and stuff. And you know, characters that come in like Ricky, the boyfriend, and the ex-boyfriend there, Jeremy.
Yep.
They look at him like he's a non-threat. You know, like, oh, he's not really going to do anything. Like he's not capable of doing this evil stuff. And that's what almost makes it really kind of good, you know, where, you know, it takes you down the way of here is a threat, you know, from something that or someone that doesn't seem to be a threat, you know, and it makes, to me, that's the scariest part of this whole movie.
I would agree with you. It's scary, but in today's day and age, I found it off-putting.
Yeah.
And I found it terrifying. I agree with you. The fact that it was this pathetic little boy who kind of had this dream of like that he was going to get the princess at the end, but then that didn't end up working out for X, Y, and Z reasons, or his great machinations didn't come to a head. And then so it spirals off into this whole other, you know, death suicide plan, and he's just going to go to bed and pretend like nothing was happening. But to me, that ruins, that takes away. I agree, it's like a clever character move and whatever, but
that's stupid.
It misses the point of having fun during the horror movie. Right. It misses the point of like. It becomes this weird, like slightly plausible thing that you could almost see happening.
Yeah.
And I don't know, as soon as you get into that area, it goes right back to that uncanny valley kind of like it's a little too close to reality. It's a little too believable that some kid without any emotional intelligence clearly has other issues.
Yeah.
Has only read what has been fed to him, which is, you know, poisonous garbage, very likely. And if you gravitate towards those bubbles, you're going to find, you know, poisonous garbage. And then he did this whole thing. But to me, as a viewer, that takes away a lot of the fun of the movie. There's no fun. It's just like the Rob Zombie, you know?
I agree with you. There's not much fun. It's actually frustrating at parts because, like, you know, you see this like wimpy kind of kid.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, like somebody
just pop him in the mouth.
He's so pathetic, man. He's such a loser where he's kind of like, he's whiny and he's just like, why won't you love me?
So why won't you kiss me?
Like, God, man, because you're 5 years old and she's like basically torturing her.
And I agree, but to play the devil's advocate, there is that underlying psychopath to him.
Yeah.
So that's what makes it
He's
scary.
Billy. He's younger Billy.
It's like it's like the counterbalance, you know, like for every wimpy non-threat, you know, little kid that he is, underneath it all, it's true psychopath. I believe Ashley also makes the comment at the end or towards the end where she was like, you were never going to let me go, or I forgot what she said at the end.
Never going to let me go. He says guilty as charged.
That, to me, that was scary. You know, that was the scary parts, because what I look at, like you said, Bearclaw, it's not fun. It's going along, but like, can we be afraid of what's going on. And
Yeah.
that was the only thing for me that was like truly scary. But I want to talk about also, they make references, and there's a lot of things online where this is almost referred to as the evil Home Alone.
Evil Home Alone, yeah.
What do you guys think about that? Do you did you like the little nods to Home Alone there with the paint can?
I thought that was like definitely like kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, kids obviously talk about movies like that and kind of try to talk about if it's real or not. Like, you know, I know a lot of kids in my school talk about like, if Michael Myers is real, would you be able to escape him? And, you know, that's obviously a big talk. But I think like talk about like a thing like Home Alone, kind of like one of those basic Christmas movies, and kind of going in, does the paint can actually like kill you, or does it injure you just for a little bit? Because like in the movie Home Alone, he gets knocked down the stairs, like he loses his golden tooth, but other than that, nothing really. And in this one, obviously we know what happens when you swing it. It literally decapitated him, or it
I
kind
don't know
of
if it decapitated him,
it
but blew
basically
his,
caved his
blew
face
his
in.
Yeah.
yeah.
The real question is, in Home Alone, how full were the paint cans?
That's also what I was
And
gonna
then
say.
you better watch out how full were the paint cans.
How did he get a
Oh,
paint
that is
can?
a good point.
Yeah.
I'm guessing the paint cans were full in this one, and in Home Alone they're empty.
Well, to Bearclaw's point, right? Home Alone, fun, you know, goofy.
Yeah.
It's also a kids
This
movie.
is like, nope.
Well, you know,
not fun.
and you know, it is almost exactly the opposite of Home Alone, because Home Alone, Kevin was defending his home from people, aggressors who are coming into the home and were going to try and do harm to Kevin. Whereas this movie was all about Luke there bringing people to him, bringing his prey to him.
Oh, you know what?
So he could achieve his goals. So he was acting offensively.
You know what? Now that you say that too, Bearclaw, this movie actually has some references to Home Alone, like with the intruder stuff, the spiders.
Yeah.
Also, if you remember, there was a shadow of a person outside the window, and wasn't it like
it was a clown?
Yes,
just like the blow-up clown from Home Alone. Yeah.
Oh my
This
god!
kid watched
Definitely.
way too
And
many Home Alone movies.
And I gotta be honest with you, even after the paint can scene, I didn't really connect the dots that it was, but like at the very end of the movie, when everything was kind of wrapped up, it dawned on me. It's like, oh, this is just evil Home Alone, but they could have had so much more fun with evil Home Alone.
You're right.
And then, you know, if he was just like, instead of being this like pathetic kind of like incel like character or whatever, I mean, he's just an undermatured boy. And, you know, instead of making him that, they really could have made him just a full-on lunatic. Yeah. And, you know, he'd set up things, and maybe like the boyfriends would be trying to stop him, or like fighting, and then they'd have to work together to try and get through his maze of death or something.
Yeah, but
like,
then
all of that would have been
you would
fun.
respect him, and you would like him somewhat more, and you wouldn't find him as contemptible and want to, you know, bash his fucking brains in.
Yeah, but I also would have liked the movie more.
I will say
That's a fair point.
there is another Home Alone reference that I really like that I just realized at the very end, when they're kind of the cops are there and the firefighters are there, the ambulance takes Ashley away. Luke looks outside the window just like Kevin McAllister at the end of Home Alone.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he sees her kind of like the wet bandits are like when he's looking at like,
you're right.
them going away, and then Ashley just flips him off and he's like, oh shit, like she's coming back.
Yeah, and the whole duct tape thing with her neck, where she put the duct tape. Oh, duct
That was
tape's good
smart.
for a bunch of different things. He says it to her, and
Yep.
that kind of puts it in her brain.
Yep. Yeah, that was a nice little callback, you know, really
Yep.
a throwaway line.
Lots
that,
of Chekhov guns.
That's true.
There's also an identical scene where Luke blows out the candles after Ashley goes to take that phone call. It's like while they're eating the pizza.
Yep.
Same thing happens in Home Alone.
Oh, yeah.
Mac and cheese. The mac and cheese dinner
Holy
at 9
God.
o'clock. He blows the candles out.
This kid's just watching Home Alone.
It starts. It's almost the same setup where it's just like, all right, well, this is where things are about to take a turn.
Yeah.
Or things are about to pick up. Tripwire as a trap.
Yes, you're right. Yep.
You got kind of touched on it already with the spiders. Buzz's tarantula. He uses spiders as well. And again, with him, the spider thing kind of just being an analogy of him and his attributes. He's a predator. He's spun this web. He's caught himself this fly, his babysitter. You know, that's just crazy. And then the last thing I think that also reminds me of Home Alone, it's like a direct, you know, homage to it, is the montage cleanup scene is like almost in the same vein as Kevin setting up the traps in the house.
Right, you're right. You're right. It's almost kind of the reverse
Yeah.
idea, you know, of him cleaning all his carnage
Also,
up.
how are we supposed to believe that this kid, okay, he's asleep while all this is going on downstairs? Like, that's ridiculous.
Because he took a pill. It was like
He's on sleeping
yeah,
pills.
because he sleepwalks.
Well, no, he doesn't
Right?
sleepwalk. He
Or-
lied to his mother so Garrett could get out. Yeah, they could
Well,
steal.
I think what he's saying is that the mom believes he's
mom-
on
yeah,
asleep.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
idea.
yeah,
Yeah. The idea
Okay.
is he took the pill so the
Yeah.
parents would believe that he was asleep the whole time.
I mean, one thing I want to know is I want to know from the audience: did you guys think that this movie was like Home Alone, or did you think it was closer to Scream? I would kind of describe it as like a Home Alone Scream hybrid. But you know what? I want to hear your thoughts on it at the padded room at outlook.com. Let me know your thoughts. Was this just an evil Kevin McAllister, or is this one of the wet bandits come back to ruin a good time with this movie? Because this is an awful movie.
Or call sign.
Dang.
Did anybody else kind of get Ferris Bueller's Day Off vibes at the end? Also, with the parents coming home
Yep.
and the race to get everything.
Yes. Yeah. It was like that. It was like Risky Business. It was like those classic sort of, you know, movies at the end, except this time we're not really rooting for the kid to
Right.
get away with it. You know, we're looking for, wait a
Clean up
minute.
slower.
We're like, what's going to get him caught, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And then it's the
Yeah.
duct tape that we didn't see coming. For me, too, with the twist, you know, I got more and more on board as it played out. But where, you know, the paint can to Ricky's face, that was like the big, you know, oh shit moment to me. But where it really got me really completely sold is when Luke takes the shotgun, right? Was it a shotgun? No, it was a pistol,
Are you
right?
talking about when he blows away Garrett?
Yeah, where he blows
Shotgun.
away. Yeah, he
Yeah,
blows away.
shotgun
Yeah,
him.
he blows away Garrett,
Yeah.
and then Garrett's begging, you know, I'm dying here. You know, which is also a reference to Scream.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bearclaw.
Dying here.
I think I'm dying here, man.
Yep. Dying here, man.
Shut up.
Billy, I think I'm dying.
Yep.
So many bills.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this movie is a mix between the two, and yeah, it's just they just, you know, it's. I think you could see both of the both elements of that from the twist and, you know, the Home Alone references. I mean, I think it's an homage to both of those, but both of those movies. Well, I guess Scream didn't have that much fun, but I don't know. Home Alone was fun.
Yeah. I mean,
the killer had fun.
Yeah, some parts of Scream are fun though.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
because we had multiple people to root for and kind of,
Yeah,
you
and it
know.
was kind of like a mystery.
Yeah,
and
right. So who
everything.
done it?
Because I mean,
Yeah.
halfway through this movie, as soon as that twist happens, any mystery of the movie is done. Everything that happens after the twist, Luke is very clearly has no good intentions for
Right.
everybody.
I mean,
Anybody.
I like this twist better than the Scream twist because I was kind of like already thinking it was Shaggy and the other dude there, like
I'm
and the dad.
woozy here.
It was Shaggy and the dad from Riverdale, but like I think like the problem I had with Scream as well as this was kind of just like I felt like they kind of got to a point where I was kind of like, where is the oh crap, we screwed up kind of moment for the killer? Rather, like this movie kind of had like, I guess kind of it with Ashley getting away, but like I think with Scream, you know, I was kind of like, I didn't really root for the protagonist in that one really, because they didn't really go into the protagonist as much as this one, and including with this one, you know, like it's just a babysitter. There's nothing really like good about her.
I mean, I think what was lacking in this a little bit for me was kind of the development of her character,
There was
Ashley.
no character development.
Yeah.
You know, we had little clues as to who she is, you know, but nothing that really makes us really root for her. I mean, obviously she's
other than
innocent.
the fact that she's tied up by a 12-year-old psychopath.
Right, she's innocent. And
Does anybody really like any of the characters in this movie?
Garrett?
I mean, he's all right.
yeah, Garrett. At
I
times.
think he had some funny moments where I was kind of like, "Aw, this little kid," you know. And then obviously when he was kind of just going along with it. He didn't know what he was doing, but like I think the problem was Luke kind of was like. He was kind of telling him to go along with it. He's kind of like, "Oh, shut up! Like, you gotta do this with me. You gotta do this. Like, you're my best friend. You should be able to like do this. Like, stop being a pussy." Like, he was kind of like,
well, it's
peer pressure.
They make the audience really feel for Garrett, it's sympathy, and kind of rooting for him in a way to help Ashley and to stop Luke.
Well, yeah, and we've all been, and I think I can speak. We've all been there with that one friend who takes it to like another level. And, you kind of are like, okay, well, I guess we'll follow along, or like, oh, this is fun at that moment. And, and hopefully if you've been lucky enough, it's never gotten to that point where it's like that point of no return, like in too deep without getting out. And I think Garrett, I think the paint can is the real moment of no return for me, and that's the paint can is the moment of no return. And I think that's when things start going downhill for Garrett, and everybody realizes the end game here is not going to play to anybody's benefit.
No,
I want a sequel.
I don't.
Well, okay, so that brings me to my next question. Do you think there could be a sequel?
Yes, there obviously could be a sequel. I think like all these characters are indisposable besides Luke and Ashley. You could bring in a new best friend for Luke, as well as I think it's going to be better because...
Well, how is Luke getting out of this?
Editor's note. Every single member of the podcast turned the movie off before the mid-credits scene. They're probably better off that way, honestly.
I think going to jail, right?
Because here's what I'm gonna say for a sequel. This is my moment to shine, my creative workshop, so to say. I think if you wanted to set up a sequel, I would say you have to do where Luke is now in college, obviously, because we're going to have a college movie. I love college horror movies.
Man.
And
another Scream reference.
Ashley cannot talk anymore, as unfortunately, due to the injury she suffered, she's unable to speak.
Couldn't she write stuff down?
She could write stuff down. Oh, and here we go from the man himself, Dan. We have an actual possible for sequel.
No,
now.
I was only just showing you that was literally my same. My
guys,
note was like, you got to take it in a college direction.
It's got to be a college movie.
Here's what I think we should do.
I think
we should wait probably another year or so, and then we go to the girl, and she's in the hospital, right? And then the whole thing takes place in a hospital. Luke follows her, and it's just as garbage as a movie as Halloween 2.
Yo, get off of Halloween 2's back. Halloween 2 made the series.
You know what Luke needs? He needs
a white mask and
he needs a doctor.
He needs a cult of Thorn to really help him here.
He needs the cult of Thorn.
Maybe that's why he's like this.
Here's the thing. You could come up with a lot of fun stuff about this movie, and this movie could have been really fun, but the problem is, and why they're not going to make a sequel is going to be the financial reason of being, $100, $1.5 million in the hole on this movie.
Yo, Australia, make this movie.
So it's definitely not getting a sequel from financial reasons alone. But the other reason is this movie is a one-note movie. There's no depth to it. There's no greater meaning and to be honest with you, like, we can discuss different aspects of it, but the most fun that we're having discussing it is coming up with stuff that we made up with, because the movie is really kind of just one note. I mean, once that twist happens, I feel like, okay, that twist was good. I will give the movie
it was
that.
Underwhelming.
That's at 30 minutes. You've got another hour to go.
So to your point, Logan, I don't think it was underwhelming. I think it was a great twist.
Well, because I was waiting for more.
Well, to Bearclaw's point, like, it happens within the first 30 minutes of the movie.
I like that. I think it's good because it kind of sets it up for like the entire movie, where it's kind of like, if they went for an hour long, let's say they wait for the last like 40 minutes of this movie to do the twist, I would have hated that, because then I would have been like, okay, so we just watched
felt like a bait and switch.
It would have been a bait and switch,
yeah.
And I think like we don't deserve that as audience members, like to have kind of a different movie halfway almost
It would be rushed, too.
It would have been rushed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's perfect where it is. I think it should have happened at that same exact point where I was kind of like, okay, now we have kind of the twist, because it makes sense, because Luke is obviously a kid and he doesn't know what he's doing, and obviously he has psychopathic like abilities where he's just like, oh yeah, you know, I don't care, I'm gonna make her scared. And we got that throughout the entire movie. Like, even if you don't realize it, when you watch it back, it's kind of like he was doing that, where he was trying to get her to be afraid so that he could be the hero for her. And I think like what we don't really realize is like he was doing a good job at being like this kind of like innocent. He was trying to play the innocent card with Jeremy when he was like, oh yeah, Ashley doesn't want to talk to you, but you can write something down for her and I'll give it to her. And then he just like kills him, and it's just like, wow, he's just like, he does not care.
And here's the other thing that I think is kind of interesting to discuss is, what do you think Luke's plan would have looked like had things gone correctly? Like 12-year-old boy, okay, let's say first run watching a horror movie, all of a sudden the babysitter magically realizes that I don't know, some kind of awful scenario, but like, where do you think Luke's next steps were there? Do you think he even mentally got there thinking it through? Like, do you think he even faced the idea of success, or do you think he always kind of knew it was going to go sideways?
That's a good question. I think that he always knew it was going to go sideways, and I think he was prepared in a way for, you know, what was going to happen.
I think he had a couple of plans. I agree with you on that, Kevin.
I think he found like the parents' home video or something like that. He's kind of basing it off of that, because he's like, even in the movie, he's like, oh, my parents are only a couple years younger than each other. But it's different because like, one, she's like, what, 18? And he's like 12? Like, that's
almost 13.
13 in a few weeks.
Almost 13. Whoa. But like, again, like, I don't think like as a kid, you're not like, oh yeah, this is kind of inappropriate in a way. But like at the same time, he's a kid.
Yeah, but you're not thinking of that as a kid, you know, and like, you know, his hormones are
if he can find
and
stuff on the internet, he can know.
Well, yeah. I mean, but to Bearclaw's point, I mean, I don't know, Dan, what do you think? Do you think that he had a you know,
backup plan?
A backup plan? Like, what do you think he would have happened if he, you know?
Clearly, him and Garrett had it laid out pretty definitively. I mean, they had a catapult with a brick on it, timed to go through the window. Like, they had everything. They bought the little wiretaps to prevent outgoing calls. They masked the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, this was...
They're smart, but they're dumb.
I think, to your point, Bearclaw, like, yeah, he clearly, I don't think he had any intention of it being successful in a romantic way. I think he very much wanted to hurt all those boys that got a chance with Ashley, and he wanted to punish Ashley for not giving him that chance.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Now that you said it like that, it kind of lays it perfectly out.
Yeah.
You know, one of the other things we have to talk about is the rewatchability of this movie. Now that we've seen the twist, do you think you guys could give this one a watch again with kind of the...
No. I rewatched it a couple of times just for the podcast, but I don't think it's got legs. I can't watch it again.
But yeah, you made us watch this one time.
I made us watch this without me having seen it either.
Oh, I thought you already saw it.
I Googled, part of my, Secret Madness thing was I Googled Christmas horror movies, and that was one of the things that came up. And I was like, oh, I've never seen that one. Let's check that out.
I think it makes sense though, because like, it's a Christmas movie and it's a Secret Madness. So I like it for what it was, but it ain't rewatchable at all.
It played out perfectly, as a Christmas movie for our Secret Madness for all of us to enjoy.
Yeah,
kind of.
Enjoy,
yeah.
Tolerate.
Well, now I want to go around and each of us give a few things we like or dislike, or I guess and dislike on this movie. Since
there's gonna be a lot of dislikes.
No, I mean, 4 likes on this movie, like we talked about. I did like Luke. I thought the actor of Luke played it really good, where he went between that non-threat, wimpy sort of kid to the psychopath. And, again, for me, the terrifying parts were like, him being a psychopath. The moment that he shoots Garrett, Garrett's dying, and then he shoots him again to put him out. And then I think he says, like, I never liked you anyway, or something like that.
I was getting tired of him
getting
anyway.
tired of you, yeah. So, that part to me really sold me on the whole twist, and then I was like, okay, like shit's past the point of any return at this point with Luke. I think this movie has a lot of things I don't like. Ashley, the main girl, is kind of forgettable, to be honest with you. What I really like about her, though, is the scenes where she has the duct tape over her mouth. She does a really good job with her eyes and her facial expressions to sell what she's going through. Especially trying to get out of, the binds with the glass and things like that, and watching things happen around her was really, she did a good job, I thought, in that way. But overall, I thought she was a very forgettable character.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of these characters. To me, I didn't like how they didn't really have, developed a lot of these characters, like Ricky, the boyfriend. We know nothing about him,
He was there to get killed.
Yeah, but because this movie doesn't have a whole lot of characters, and it is kind of story driven and everything else going on, I wanted more character development. This is not a Jason movie, where Jason's just going through a bunch of kids. Give us something on these characters. The moment where Jeremy dies and then the camera pans down to the note he had wrote, it was supposed to give the audience sympathy for this character that had just died, because he wrote again. Yeah, right. Yeah, 100%.
I'm sorry.
Dan's reaction is my what I'm saying on this.
Look, nobody
is my
cares about Billy from Stranger Things.
But this is why this movie overall didn't have a lot of weight. And that's why that shotgun to Garrett had some weight, because I felt like, their connection with Luke was really the only thing with actual
Substance,
weight. Yeah, exactly. The gore was non-existent. Not that I'm a huge gore fan, but I felt like they could have given us something, especially with the paint can. I think, the blood mixed in with the yellow paint was kind of a cool scene. Maybe, okay, you don't have to give us the face, gone or anything like that.
At least show it happening.
But yeah, I mean, it was very light on the gore. Some of those scenes maybe would have had more of an impact if there was more gore. I think overall, besides the twist, it was a very forgettable movie. I think, you had a couple of the big kills with the paint can, gun, the hanging scene, and then everything around it was just, what are we doing here? Like, it's very forgettable overall to me. All right, Dan, what do you think?
I have to tend to agree with a lot of what you had said. I love the twist in this movie, but it's really a one-trick pony. It doesn't have the same effect in its rewatch. Like, it put me on an emotional roller coaster watching it the first time through, wondering like what was going to happen, uncharted territory. But then, like, after that, like you said, there's no depth to any of the characters besides Garrett and Lucas's relationship. There's no real substance to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I thought as well, which, I don't know, it almost makes some of those deaths really meaningless in a way.
Yeah. Like, and I also found like a lot of I hated a lot of the characters, like the Jeremys and the two guys there. They were just clearly cannon fodder. They had no real purpose other than that.
Well, I mean, like, what Ricky was bothering Ashley, so like Luke kind of stepped in. I think as like when you're a kid, you hear people talking on the phone and you think if they react in a certain way, like, oh, something bad's going on. So like I think he kind of took that as like, oh, maybe I get the chance to help her and stop him from like hurting her or whatever. Like he thinks he's got a hero complex that he thinks he's like stepping in to save the day, right? Like he's doing these things because he thinks he's being the good guy.
And I think that I would like this movie a lot more if there was an actual payoff. I think they do such a good job of crafting this antagonist who's just, you can't stand him. The actor does such a good job of capturing a psychopath. And like, we don't get to see this little fucker get his ass kicked.
Right? There's no comeuppance.
There's no comeuppance. I think I'd enjoy it a little bit more if he got some sort of comeuppance.
What? Well, now, let me throw you this, because I can pitch great movie ideas around this movie all day. What about like Luke versus Kevin McAllister?
Yes.
Like,
Take my money.
tell me how that would pay off, or how that would play out by sending me a note at thepaddedroom@outlook.com. Do you think Kevin McAllister could take Luke, or do you think he would end up being the, what is it, fourth victim of Luke? Because I don't think Ashley counts because she lives.
Oh, yeah, she lives. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it would be the fourth victim of Luke. Yep.
Who stands a better chance against the wet bandits?
I think Luke does, but for all the wrong reasons.
Would Luke make a honorary wet bandit?
No, he's too messed up for that.
But let me know your thoughts on whether you think Kevin McAllister could take Luke down at thepaddedroom@outlook.com.
He's more of a sticky bandit.
Ooh, that's a good callback. Dan, is that all you got on? Yeah. All right. Bearclaw?
So I'll go through the very few things I liked. I thought the movie was shot well. I thought the movie definitely inspired terror. I did have a feeling of terror throughout the movie, and that like feeling of like just something profoundly wrong going on, especially with Luke. Once Luke takes his turn there, you really do feel the wrongness of it, which as far as provoking an emotion of kind of like wrongness and terror, I would say this movie does a great job. Unfortunately, those aren't really terror to a certain degree I like feeling, but I definitely don't like feeling like wrongness. Like that like feeling of like it's in that uncanny valley of like a little too close to like what a teenage psychopath would be. And I just really, that's where we start getting into the dislikes. I really did like the acting, though. I thought the young actors did a great job. I feel like Levi Miller, he did a great job of giving what he was, acting out what he was told to do and playing the part. And I thought, Ash did a reasonably good job too. But I don't think they were given, with the exception of Luke, I don't think any other character was given any room to breathe really in this movie. And you got a few comments from Ricky that showed that he was kind of a reasonable individual, and Jeremy was kind of a little bit, there was very clear reasons why he was Ashley's ex, but Ricky always was trying to reason, even until the paint can crushed his head, was trying to reason his way out of it and be like, guys, we can work this out, we can get out of here. So there was a little bit of character development there, but not enough, and it was not fun. And if you pitched an evil Home Alone to me with Scream overtones,
the way I pitched this to everybody was, it was like a John Hughes movie they had interrupted.
I feel like I would be on board for that movie, but the way that they played this out and how reality adjacent they made it, it meant for it was a zero fun experience, and overall I just disliked the movie. It's unique, I'll give it that, but unique in a bad way. And all I have to say is $1.75 million deficit. I mean, kind of speaks for itself.
All right, Logan.
Yeah, so I mean, likes are kind of like the same. I think what I really like was the idea of just being in the house the entire time.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Cool,
and
like,
we talked about that on the Black Christmas episode.
I think like what I really liked about it was just like it was kind of like they were trapped in the house where like they didn't really have too much room to breathe in a certain sense. But like I kind of like that because it's like they're not going anywhere. They're not trying to like leave. They're not like in the Black Christmas. I would have liked if it was during the entire party. If this was just happening as soon as like they start to realize, where's everyone else? Where'd they all go? Like, did they leave early? And then like you lead into that. And I think like that's what they were kind of missing in Black Christmas, where I kind of wanted that. And this movie kind of had it in a way, but also didn't. I think Garrett was funny, but like, I think he was kind of oblivious to it all because he was on Oxy. And like Ashley was an okay protagonist. I thought like, I felt bad for her, but like I think she was just trying to escape. But it made for an entertaining movie. For dislikes, acting was really bad. I thought Luke was really just a terrible actor. He is the worst. Like he is beyond terrible. He's just like is a robot at this point. And pacing, it's slow, it maneuvers very bad, and I think like it just takes its time to get to it where I'm kind of like, Jesus Christ, just get it over with, you're pathetic. And I think like, like I thought the twist was good, but like again, the kid's acting was really bad. He was just creepy. And I think like for the most part, the plot was okay, where it was kind of different, but it really didn't try to be itself. It kind of went into this whole like, okay, well, let's try to go for logic. Let's try to go for realism. And I think, like, in the most part, I kind of wanted it to be fun, where I was kind of like, I don't want them to set up the ending. And they set up the ending. They literally did, where they're like, oh, yeah, this is going to happen. And it happened. And I think that's, for the most part, I didn't want it to happen, because I kind of wanted the parents to come home and kind of go, what happened? Where's our son? What is going on here? But, like, I think the ending was good, but it was very, like, felt very... no, not underwhelming. It was just like, it was one of those like, aha, still alive, gotcha, bitch. Like, kind of like one of those things. But like, I think it was okay. It's a good movie, but nothing great.
Real quick though, how cool would it have been? And I'm just pitching this because I think it sounds like it. How cool would it have been if Luke was a psychopath, fine, but he deliberately kidnapped Ashley and his friend Garrett was helping him out. And then the two boyfriends, or like the boyfriend and the ex-candidate, had to go in and try and rescue her. Like he calls them or lures them to them, and then they have to go through like a Home Alone-esque kind of situation to try and get her. But she ends up ultimately like saving herself in like Final Girl fashion. Yeah. And maybe the boyfriends don't make it through the thing, but they have a goal, they have a purpose. They're like. There, and they've got to compete with this little kid, and that has this Home Alone evil thing, and there, you set up boundaries. But I mean, like, think of how fun and how like that could still be a terrifying movie, but not in the way that this movie is terrifying.
That's true.
Like this movie is just that would be my whole stance on the movie, is like how fun it could have been, but this was zero fun.
I think it would have been cool if they did that like in the beginning of the movie, like them getting the call, and like it was kind of just her being like Luke telling her what to say for them to come in, and like I think that would have been cool. But like I think they knew what they were getting themselves into with this. They wanted to go for more of the creepy, psychotic Luke and try to like. Because they didn't really care about Ricky and Jeremy. Ricky and Jeremy were just there to get killed and to get like murdered for liking Ashley because they were competing.
To all your guys' point, big question here: who is this movie for?
Yeah, I would agree. Who is it for?
Home Alone fans?
That's a good point. I don't know.
It ain't for me.
Not for many people at those box office numbers. I keep coming back to that, but I mean that's critics, the truth.
They got an 88%.
Well, let's get to our fun part of this show. Hook, line, or stinker. For my hook, there weren't a lot of kills like we already talked about. But for me, my hook was the shotgun kill to Garrett.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because for me, that was the point where I really like accepted the twist and like, it really sold everything to me. And, again, Garrett begging and being killed ultimately. So that really just sealed Luke as the psychopath.
Yeah, it was a very sad scene.
It was his last shred of humanity.
Yep. You're right. It was.
That was he threw that shit away.
Tired of that anyways.
Enough of that
shit. My line is... This was my favorite line, and it really kind of made me laugh, and makes me laugh now thinking about it. Where
you're fucking home alone in him?
You're fucking home alone in him?
I thought it was good. I almost had that.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. And speaking of Garrett, I think he added some scenes of levity, but to try to kind of counterbalance Luke in his coldness. My stinker is actually all the scenes in the beginning before the twist of Luke trying to seduce Ashley
yes,
with the champagne, with the candles, like we talked about.
Ambiance.
Those were hard to watch.
So why won't you kiss me?
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. And then he then he's leaning into her and then he tries to kiss. I mean, all those scenes were just kind of cringy to me, you know? So that's really my stinker scenes. All right, Dan, what do you have?
Well, for my hook, they Home Aloned him. Like, to me, this is where the movie peaked, was that Home Alone kill, and then it kind of was all downhill from there. That was, like, I think the most unique and fun way to kill somebody, I think, and just to have that Home Alone nostalgia. Pretty fucking cool. I that was my favorite thing out of the entire
Nice knife for a
movie.
neck injury.
Yeah. My line is actually right as Ashley says the jig is up for Garrett and Luke, and she says, "And what were you going to show me? How much of a man you were by rescuing me from faked arm robbers? You're a child. I almost broke my neck."
What delusional infant thinks that staging a break-in is going to get you to second base?
Oh,
sick burn.
That was a sick burn.
And just as she's reading him the riot act, you just see, like, again, his face just starts to just deteriorate. You see the craziness start to form around the eyes.
Yeah.
And then I would say my stinker, the boob touching scene.
It is the most inappropriate thing ever.
Like, you know, tied up molestation stuff. Just going to what Bearclaw was saying, there's some scenes in this movie that, you know, it's what was your expression you've been saying about the valleys there?
It's just it's that uncanny valley where it's too close to feel okay about.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. That for me, that's it.
She's just a girl, you know. I think that's just it. Like, I think, like, I was kind of like where I was like, okay, so she's just the babysitter. Like, there's no like crazy thing that's going on behind the scenes. Like, it's just because, you know, he's a little kid. A girl babysits him every now and again. He's like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, I don't know. You're right. It's too on the nose, kind of real, you know, with that.
Like crazy, stupid love there with that babysitter.
I'm kind of amazed that you made the comparison Better Watch Out and Crazy Stupid Love.
Well, wasn't she didn't she like take pictures of herself to send to Cal, the dad?
But that was the other way. That was like, yeah.
But the kid liked the babysitter, which was the whole plot. That's what I was trying to get into.
Oh, okay, I got you. Man, this movie's got a whole bunch of references all over the place.
I mean that.
You know what it is? I think we're looking too closely into this movie.
This movie's just a colossal.
We're polishing a turd.
Yes, 100%.
We're trying to extrapolate something interesting from something that it may not be as interesting.
Yeah, it's bad. It's just bad.
All right, Bearclaw.
All right, my favorite hook is going to be the paint can scene, obviously. And alone on the paint can scene is kind of interesting, and like the glooping paint, like the sound that paint makes, and like the like that like glooping sound is what made that interesting to me. And if it was done in a funny way, I think that would have, or like entertaining and not like a serious way, I think it would have been a much better hook. And then I also, for my first line, I had the same exact thing as Dan, as what delusional infant thinks of staging a break-in is going to get you to second base. And again, that kind of struck in my mind, like, what does his victory condition look like? And does he even have one? And that's what got me kind of thinking, he probably doesn't have one.
You just want to touch a boob.
Like? What does this look like? But I'll choose another one that I had, which is Ashley says,
"Oh, not again with the duct tape."
And Luke slaps a piece of duct tape over her mouth and goes,
"1,001 uses
for duct tape." And ultimately, I did have a moment of joy knowing that he was going to be discovered. But then there's the other aspect of it is his parents are probably going to fight for him. He's going to have a grade A legal team. Is like, there's so much cloudiness there. Is he gonna eventually try and like worm his way out of it? And he's going to be a psychopath who's willing to do what it takes. You know, is he ever going to get convicted? I guess there's that kind of thought in my mind too, of like, is he even going to get away with it at this point? yeah, is anybody going to believe that he did that to her? But so that even brought less joy to me because, again,
it's frustrating. To Dan's point, like, you want to see him have his comeuppance, and to your point, Bearclaw, like, does he get that ever?
Yeah,
like,
does he even get that? There's even some question about that at the end of the movie, and then. And that just links into why I think this was a stinker. There just wasn't any, I've pined on that long enough, but there just wasn't. It could have been such a fun concept, and it just wasn't here. They decided to go more real life. The reality in this movie is what takes away from this movie for me.
I gotcha. All right, Logan.
So I mean, Hook, the paint can kill is like. It's classic, he Home Aloned him. Like, there's no like getting away from that. It's the coolest kill. It's intricate. It's like a nuance kind of thing. I thought it was kind of its own. Like, no one's really done that before. It was its own. But
I you know what I like too? And adding to Bearclaw's realism of this movie, he misses at first when he drops it down.
He's like, what is he doing? And he's like, oh my God, you're Home Aloneing him?
Yeah, right. In movies like Home Alone, it hits him perfect, right, the first time. This is
no,
like
that's not
dropping
true because he missed the first time, right? Or
no, he hits him.
Can I just go back real quick? With that scene, why doesn't he just tilt the chair back?
Yeah.
Why does
or Doc
Ashley, after she fires the gun, like runs away, realizing it's not like at that point, like, wouldn't you want to fight him? Like, you get one-on-one advantage at that point. He has no weapons. He has no gun.
That is true.
That was like your opportunity to take. I think that was another thing that frustrated me that I forgot to mention earlier, was just how like helpless some of the protagonists were in some of the situations where it was just like, well, I would have just tipped the chair back and avoided getting hit with the paint bucket.
I mean, to the point you said about Ashley, I think it was because, the paint can thing had just happened. Right?
Yeah, it's shock.
And it was shock. And she was like, whoa, if he's capable of this, like, who knows what the hell, he has, behind door number 2. All right, Logan.
Also, for a line, I put, well, it's a long one, but I think it's like the funniest kind of like thing that happened in the movie. And I'm going to read it out because I have it here with me. Robert, turn that shit off. It's giving me a migraine. Yes, darling. My ornaments were conspicuously missing from the tree. We're not putting those on the tree. Belle's shoes are I chop your legs off below the knees. Are you sure you've never sucked another man's cock? Not even in college? Not some lost weekend? Fishing trip? Secret special friend? Ever? Not that I can recall. Because honestly, Robert, this is so metrosexual. It's not even a word. It's metro. Metrosexual. I'm allowed to like gay things. I need a drink. I think that's just like, it's perfect because it's just like, it's like one of his only lines. And because I'm such a fan of Patrick Warburton, it kind of leads into like, he can say anything and it's hilarious. Like, even when he's like, yeah, I didn't give you permission to leave. Like, it's just like, it's so perfect that it's like, even with like him kind of like giving that creepy factor, it's also like he's just he gives off dad personality. Yeah, he's giving off dad. Like he's like, I'm allowed to like gay things. But yeah, I mean that's it. And then like Stinker, any scene with Luke is kind of just like
you were frustrated by Luke.
Dude, I think like what I'm kind of getting at with Luke, and I think it's just it pisses me off every time, is like I wanted him to be an effective killer. But I couldn't see it with him because he was squeaking and he was like, what about me? Like, he was just so whiny and so pathetic. Like, it was just
a little bitch.
It was a little bitch. And he's just like, it's kind of to the point where I don't really care about him. And like, I don't care about him enough to like really be like, oh God, I want this kid to like die. Like, I'm not really like that where I'm like, this kid deserves what he got coming to him. Cause like, I don't really care at this point where I'm like, okay, Garrett's dead. The boyfriends are dead. Ashley's probably dead. Like, cool. Let this movie be done.
Alrighty. Well, you're on to our final rating.
They're gonna rate the movie. Well, will they rate the movie? The killer is great. The victim sucks. The survivor is in between. What was that?
I gotta admit, most of this movie for me was not good. And I immediately was like, okay, this has to be a victim. But parts of it actually made me want to go towards the middle of being a stinker. Of being a
No, you got it right.
I was thinking stinker.
You said it right.
Of being a survivor. Like I was going to put it right in the middle because, eventually, like I said, the twist did bring me in a little bit. But the biggest thing for me on this movie is the rewatchability. Once you see it, like you said, it's kind of a one-trick pony with the twist and it's over with. So, this one for me is a victim. I really can't recommend this. There's a couple cool scenes to watch. Maybe you can YouTube them. Yeah.
They're on.
Yeah.
I would have rather watched this on YouTube than ever watch it. Like, I would have been okay with watching the trailer.
Oh, Dan, what do you think?
Well, they all can't be winners, folks. I'm gonna have to. Oh man, it's tough. It's definitely not a killer. It falls somewhere in between victim and survivor for me. I appreciate the uniqueness of it. Like I appreciate things about it. So for me, it's hard to justify anything that I find that has a redeemable quality to it to put it in that like bottom tier.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm gonna give it a survivor. Do I recommend it? No. If you're interested in watching it, go for it. Find out for yourself. It's my 2 cents, but
yeah,
not really big on substance. A little too dark, and it's a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
Bearclaw.
So in my mind, and this is just my rating when old Bearclaw looks at some of these. Now, in my mind, in order for it to be a survivor, there has to be something of value that I think. Well, first off, it's a survivor. I would at least recommend it because I think it has a good example of something, or it has some type of value into itself. It adds to the conversation. In my opinion, this movie is a victim. If you don't ever see it, you're not going to be any worse off for it. I don't think it adds anything useful to the conversation. It wasn't fun. It was very simple. It was very surface level. And, there's a reason that I think it didn't do well. I think there's where there's smoke, there's fire when it comes to its success. And I couldn't give it a survivor because I don't think you're going to come away from this movie with anything valuable. I don't think you're going to walk away and be like, okay, maybe that wasn't the greatest movie ever, but at least I learned or gained this perspective. I think it's just you're going to walk away from it being glad that it's over and that you don't have to see it again. And that was very much my feelings on it. So for me, it's a victim.
Logan. Killer?
No, this was a victim. I was the victim watching this,
I agree.
I think like it just fits the category. Like I think it was just, it insists upon itself. I'm just going to say that because that's exactly how I feel about it. So, like it completely just overlooks the fact that because I didn't think it was a horror movie. It's trying to be a horror movie. And I don't think it ever really hit that where I was like, wow, I am scared. Like, I didn't care. Like, I just didn't care. And I think it's just a movie that happened. Like, I don't want to rewatch it. I don't want to recommend it to anybody because I don't want them to go through this.
You don't want them to be a victim as well.
Yeah, like, I mean, if I gave this to my enemy, I wouldn't be too angry. But, like, at the same time, I'd be like, I feel bad even just doing that to them. Like, it's just, I wouldn't recommend anyone at home watch this.
On that note, we are going to start to leave our Secret Madness office party, but we want to thank you all for joining us for this special episode, the first annual Secret Madness. Isn't that right, Bearclaw?
That's right. And make sure that you tell us, how did you find this movie? I want to know from each and every one of you whether it was, what are the redeeming qualities of this? And I want you to tell me by going by sending me a note at thepaddedroom@outlook.com. Tell me whether you think it's a killer, whether it's a survivor, or whether it's a victim. I think there's a broader discussion here, and I want to see if you thought there was something more valuable that many of us here just missed. So
definitely. And if you think it's a killer, I want you arguing with Bearclaw all day long on emails. But we want to say happy holidays to everybody out there. we're going to join you sometime after the holidays for a new episode. And we're looking at doing the Candyman battle. We're going to do 1992 Candyman versus 2021 Candyman. And we're going to give you everything we have on those movies. So we definitely appreciate you guys listening. But now back to the padded room with you. Thanks again. Take care.